mansions of Hollywood. You bought the L.B. Mayer mansion, and rumor has it that it has so many rooms that there are some that you haven't even explored yet.
No, that rumor isn't so. There are. I bought the L.B. Mayer estate. There are 33 rooms, and they are all lived and loved in. I have a lot of fellas at my house.
You have 6 sons.
6 sons. And with the arrival of the Little King, the last character, Little Joe, it made it a little difficult for us. With 33 rooms, it's a little ludicrous to say that we're running out of space. But Patty has she has such a magnificent plan of raising children. It's always been so beautifully applied to the children that they need room. She sees to it that they have all of the things children must have, play areas and the proper sleeping quarters so that they're close and yet at the same time they're very, very snug to us. There are no doors or separators. There are no things that take us away from them. Everything, we are enveloped by the children and we envelop them. You need a lot of room with 6
What
guys.
is your wife's plan for raising children that is so unusual?
Unusual? Well, she has... I'm a very fortunate man in that the really big love of wisdom that I've always had was from my grandmother, as I told you. And now I come to marry a girl who has equally, if not more, of the same thing that she had. In that she believes that we are here. She has taught me that we are here as reproducers. And that while we are here, she believes that the good Lord in heaven wants us to enjoy ourselves, enjoy the fruits of life. Yet our first responsibility is to prepare and make a better tomorrow through our children. She believes that we can see the world through the children's eyes if we look and take the time. And I have 6 sons, David, the likes of which you've never seen. One is a nicer human being than the other. And they are all eager to embrace the world and give love and affection and create and contribute.
How large an estate in acreage is the L.B. Mayer place now, your home?
Well, it's only 3 acres.
Only 3 acres.
The word estate, of course, sounds like it's massive, but 3 acres is massive in Bel Air because there isn't really an awful lot of room to break out into. But it's amazing to see the room. It sounds fantastic to those that don't see it. But when you walk into our house, on the door it says our home is open to sunshine, friends, and God. That's the way you feel when you come into our house. It's not an estate. It's someone's home. But it's like going to your own.
I read somewhere, Jerry, that you didn't buy that home the way almost everyone does. Go to a bank, get a mortgage, or handle it in the traditional way, that you wrote some astronomical check out and bought it in cash. And is that true?
Yes, it is. I didn't want... there are certain things that I don't want associates in. I don't want someone else to have a say when it comes to very important things. I want to own it completely. I don't want a bank to hold a note and so on. So I paid cash for the L.B. Mayer estate. And it's a marvelous, wonderful feeling to know that hopefully nothing happens to me prior to the time that it's supposed to. It's a nice thing to know that if something did happen, that my family's protected and secure without someone knocking with notes and things like that.
It's also kind of great to be able to write a check that size, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's a marvelous feeling. It's a marvelous feeling, but I don't think that it's a feeling that's any different than the man that goes into a store to buy something for his home, whether it's a gas range or a refrigerator. What a marvelous feeling it is for any working man to pay for it and not go through the time and the financing and so on, which in most cases is more advantageous to the people today.
What did you pay for?
I paid $500,000 for it.
What about the criticism that you might be the victim of ostentatious display? I mean...
Criticism by who?
By your critics, by people who say, well, the guy has 500 suits, he has 6-8 automobiles, he writes a $500,000 check for his home, he I don't know, you've got recording equipment in your house that would equal that of any average radio station. Everything you do is on such a grandiose, expensive scale.
I am not using any of these monies from the accounts or from the bank depositors that are critics. I'm not taking from their wealth. These are monies that I go to, that I have earned, that I have worked 20 hours a day for the last 20 years to earn. And if a critic doesn't believe that this is what I should do, he had best sweat with me a little before he has a right to say it. Since he hasn't sweat with me, let him just look and wonder.
You mentioned your wife before, and I know that you've got a very successful interreligious marriage. You're Jewish and your wife is Catholic. Mm-hmm. And you've made one of those quite unique, excellent adjustments of two differing backgrounds. Was it tough? Is it a difficult thing?
Yes, it was tough for me at the beginning. As a matter of fact, I was almost bigoted about it.
In what way? How?
I just didn't believe that such a thing could work. I had recalled my upbringing, and my upbringing was from the very Orthodox Jewish faith. I was given to understand that you just don't even go near a Catholic church. I don't mean that this was taught and literally bigoted teaching. That wasn't the case. But it's just that ignorance on the part of so many people that lead their children to believe these things, and it stays with you for a long time. Were it not for Patty's wisdom and her understanding, I'd have been in big trouble today, because I married her and I forced her to become a Jewess, or I would not marry her. And she was very happy to do it, and she did. And I told her I want no crucifix around the house. I don't want to see any of those things. You're going to be my wife, etc. And I was really a man. I was 18 and a half. I really knew what it was all about.
How old was Patty?
She was just a year my senior. And I was really, I laid down the law, boy. I knew everything. Then about 10 years passed, and very, very slowly I had become the aggressor, and I had asked her to teach me. And very, very slowly, for a 2-3 year period, I was learning. And she would bring me things from church, little things about the sermon that referred to our beautiful land of Israel, and Moses on the Mount, and Jesus and his teachings. And very subliminally, she taught me all of the beautiful things that there are to learn. And she didn't do it by design. But then when I confronted her and I said, "Is this a plan?" I just realized, hey, you're not trying to get me to move over, are you, honey? She said, "No. I'm just waiting for you to grow up and enjoy the beautiful things around you and understand them, so you can help have your children understand." Now I can go to church with Patty and sit there in complete comfort, because she always reminds me that we are sitting in a church of Christ, a man who, were it not for circumstances, would have created the church of my people. And she teases the priest, Father Kaiser of the parish, and says, "Father, Jerry is going to go to church with me next Sunday." And then she'll look at me and she'll say, "Jerry, you know his boss used to be on your side, and they're working together," and those kind of things. And she handled me beautifully through humor and through understanding. And it's just a marvelous thing. Information.
Currently, do you practice quite separate faiths? She is a practicing Catholic and you are a practicing Jew?
Well, I wouldn't say practicing. I am not by any means a religious man going to the synagogue as I should. Yet I believe that religion is in your heart, and I'm a very religious man. And I think religion is not something that you dress up and show people in a synagogue or a church. By your presence doesn't spell out religion to me. I have a much more religious faction going for me in my heart, the way I think and believe, my talks to God and his talks to me.
How are your children brought up, Jerry? You have 6 sons. To what religion do they subscribe?
I have 5 sons that were baptized at my request. I asked Patty 2 years ago, This is when we only had 5 sons. I said, would you like to baptize your children? And I remember, David, she grabbed me and hugged me, unlike anything I have ever felt in all of the years we were married. And I didn't realize what I was doing. I only thought that out of respect to her, and she had really tried to impress on me that all children need a faith, and they can't be as free with their religion as I am. They must have an avenue. And she said, take them to the synagogue and make them full Jews and have them understand your faith, or take them to my church, but they must have a direction. And I couldn't argue with that. So that one night I said, how would you like to do that? She never said a word, but the embrace was as though Mike Mazurka had hugged me. I never felt anything like it. She trembled and cried and looked at me with the kind of gratitude I never could understand how important a thing would be to a mother. So at the time, as I say, we had 5 sons, and we went to the church 2 Sundays later. I warned the priest not to spill none of that water on me because I was a Jew, you know. And I was a little nervous, so I kidded with Father Kaiser, which didn't bother him. He understood, and he's a lovely man, and who has been our very dear friend and confidant. And then driving home in the car, I looked at Patty, and all our sons were in the car with us in the station wagon. I said, Esther, that's her real name. I call her Esther. I never call her Patty. I said, Esther, I counted 4 sons. Didn't Father Kaiser baptize all our sons? She said, no. No, I thought your number 1 son should be left for you. So after my doing what I thought was a very lovely thing for her, after she had expressed how lovely it was, she topped me by giving me a gift in return.
Did you have to, or Patty, overcome parental objections in the first instance when you got married? Was there the traditional resistance?
Oh, sure. Oh,
No.
Absolutely.
Have you brought the respective families around?
No, there is no such thing.
There is none.
No.
They maintain opposition?
I think that it's a general opposition. I think that there is really it's a difficult thing once the umbilical is cut. I think it's difficult to separate. I think every mother thinks that the wife of the boy that he chooses isn't really quite up to snuff. I don't think it really has anything to do with religion. I think that that's used as a pry to open up a can of peas. I think that my mother is not unlike any mother. Abe Greenberg could help you a great deal on the subject. I believe he wrote a book called How to Be a Jewish Mother.
Yes, I read it.
Well, replace the word Jewish with Italian or any other how to be a blank mother, and it all fits. It's amazing how you take that Jewish out of the title, put Catholic, Italian, any denomination. It works, because mother is mother.
Are you and Patty estranged from your respective families?
No, I wouldn't say estranged so much. It's the kind of a thing where I love my mother and father very, very much, yet I love my wife and my children very much, and I'm not about to make choices, and I will not be torn. I want my mother and father to live a happy, healthy life, and I will join them and let them enjoy their grandchildren. And my family needs me, the father, and they need my strength. And I think that you have to go back and forth. It's pretty difficult to, I don't think it's easy to gather the entire family around a table and find the kind of love that the son wants to run through all of those bodies. I think that there's a stop point. I think that there's an obstacle when it hits the parental area. And I'm not guessing, because my oldest son brought a young girl to meet us. And he loves her, and she loves him. And when I looked in her face and saw the way she loved him, I loved her right now. I saw one other girl that he liked for a while, and I knew exactly what parental could be with a boy and a girl. I experienced the feeling. But this little girl he's going with, Susie, is she's a champion. Marvelous little girl. And if she loves my son, I love her. And I don't feel an obstacle. I feel an open, wonderful warmth for her. I think she'll make him very happy.
I have to make our underwriter happy.